Hey all, Rob here. Don't forget to subscribe. I just want to talk about in this post why Secret Invasion, the Disney Plus miniseries, one of the main reasons why it failed, and also why the comic book miniseries back then also was a letdown, is for the honest reason that I think most people are overlooking, is that the Skrulls, these alien invaders, this race, the Skrulls, they are not interesting villains. They are not good villains that you, the audience, or the reader, does not really emotionally connect to at all. They are one-dimensional characters without depth, and most of them are just, they're so new that, that these characters that they tried to develop in the comics or the Disney Plus series, that you don't feel any connection to them. You're not invested emotionally. You don't feel for the villain. You look at Batman and the Joker. You It's an appealing villain, the Joker, even though he's a bad guy. Or Magneto is appealing, even though he's a bad guy. All the great villains make the hero better. And they make the movie better. Or they make the comic book better. Because they're an interesting villain. You might not like them, but you have to admit they're interesting. There's some appeal there. And that's one of the reasons why those stories, when a good villain fights the hero, it matters more and it is significant and you care. You want to read that story or you're impressed. And the Secret Invasion, the Skrulls, and I stand by it, they're not interesting. They're not good enough. They're one-dimensional, and they lack a depth that you can connect with. And when your villain does not have appeal, no matter how good you might think your story is, it's not going to connect with the audience. And that's exactly what happened with the TV series on Disney Plus. That's a big factor in why it failed. Did you really care that, spoilers, so you might want to turn it off right now. Did you really care that Nick Fury is married to a Skrull? Interesting, but did you really care? Did you care about Talos or the villain Gravitos, whatever his name is? Did you really feel connected to these people? No, you didn't. The only interesting character there with some depth was Nick Fury. No one else really mattered, and that was the problem. You didn't care about the villain in the comic book series or the TV series. This whole Skrull race does not connect with the reader on an emotional level to any real degree. And that's why it failed. The only other significant appearance of the Skrull race was the Captain Marvel movie. And sure, they did a few other appearances, but I'm talking big picture. And that Captain Marvel movie, a lot of people didn't like anyway, and that's why Secret Invasion failed. Another problem I also see when people complain in comic book movies is, why couldn't Secret Invasion be like the comic book series, where you have probably like 100 plus heroes or villains? Why couldn't Civil War be like the comic book series? The problem with that thinking is, to make Secret Invasion like the comic books, with so many heroes, would require hundreds of millions of dollars for a budget. We're talking 300 million, 400 plus. You think it's easy to get a bunch of characters, to build the costumes, to do all the special effects, to have big pictures in terms of the production, the art of filming all of this? How are you going to film 30, 40, 50 plus heroes or villains? Give them airtime. Give them a significant amount of not only story, but screen time and try to balance it. To make these big budget crossovers like in the comic books, it's easy. You just have a penciler, an inker, and a writer. That's it. There's not much physical production cost wise to make a crossover of a star spanning world or hundreds of characters in it. It's very easy to do. It doesn't cost too much. But you make a big budget film, much less a TV series, you make big budget. We're talking 300 million, 400 million or more budget if you really want to make a crossover as accurate as a comic book. And are you really going to spend 400 million on a movie? You can't do that if you're a TV studio. You simply can't. It's not worth the investment, especially will you get your money back? Most likely you won't. And so many studios have pounded 200, 300 million into movies and watched them flop. So of course you have to change it. You cannot expect a huge comic book series that features dozens of characters to accurately portray it on the big screen or a TV screen. Because you need a $300 million plus budget at least. And simply that's not going to happen. It's not worth it. But Secret Invasion failed. And that's the point. You know, the bad guys weren't worth it. So that's the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll talk to you later.